कमला भगिनी, आपका स्वास्थ्य
हाँ,
अभी
आज
कैसा है?
आज 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 पहले से अच्छा हुआ है। बीच में 3 दिन बहुत तकलीफ हो गई थी अस्थमा की।
जी जी।
अभी आज जरा फेर पड़ा है और क्लास में उपस्थित रहने में मुझे बहुत खुशी होती है। मैं क्लास में नहीं बैठ सकती हूँ तो मुझे बहुत बहुत मिस करता है, अच्छा नहीं लगता। धन्यवाद महोदय जी।
आज कुछ बोल पाएंगी भाव कथन के विषय
यस,
में,
ये हाँ
यदि
जी, हाँ जी, मैं तो
बोल
वेट
बोल
कर रही हूँ
पाएंगी?
बोलने को, मेरे दिल की बात।
हाँ
जरूर।
हाँ। चलिए चलिए चलिए, आपसे ही आरंभ करते हैं।
ठीक ठीक है, ठीक है। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। प्रणाम महोदय जी। मेरे गीता शिक्षणम परिवार को भी नमस्कार। आज हम सारांश में ही 18वें अध्याय के 57 से 78वें श्लोकों के बारे में विचार प्रकट करते हैं। 18वें अध्याय का शीर्षक है मोक्ष संन्यास योग। आपको याद दिला दे कि भगवान बतला रहे हैं अब तक कि कर्मयोगी सिद्धि को कैसे प्राप्त होता है। उसी को दोहराते हुए भगवान श्री कृष्ण कर्मयोगी को कहते हैं, अपने सभी कर्म मुझे समर्पित करो और मुझे ही अपना लक्ष्य बनाओ। बुद्धि को भगवान में एकीकृत करते हुए उसका आश्रय लेकर अपनी चेतना को निरंतर मुझ में लीन रखो। ऐसा योग दुखों का अंत करता है। कर्म जो किया वो कृष्ण को अर्पण किया। भगवान यहाँ पर अर्जुन को जरा भय दिखाकर युद्ध के लिए प्रेरित करते हैं। वे कहते हैं, यदि तुम सदैव मेरा स्मरण करते रहो तब मेरी कृपा से तुम सब कठिनाइयों के पार कर पाओगे, और अगर तुम अभिमान के कारण मेरे उपदेश को नहीं सुनोगे तब तुम्हारा विनाश हो जाएगा। हमारे गुण, हमारे स्वभाव हमसे कर्म करवाते हैं। इसी बात को समझाते हुए भगवान अर्जुन को कहते हैं कि अगर तुम अहंकार का आश्रय लेकर यह मान रहा है कि मैं युद्ध नहीं करूंगा, तो तेरा यह निश्चय मिथ्या है। तेरा क्षत्रिय स्वभाव का, तेरा क्षत्रिय धर्म का तुम्हें युद्ध लड़वा कर ही रहेगा, के लिए विवश करेगा युद्ध के लिए। अर्जुन की ही तरह हम सबके पूर्वकृत स्वाभाविक कर्म होते हैं, चाहे वे पिछले जन्म के हो या इस जन्म में हो। यही आपका स्वधर्म भी होता है। अगर हमारे शरीर को एक यंत्र या मशीन माना जाए तो इस दुनिया में यह यंत्र घूम रहा है। हमारे इस शरीर रूपी यंत्र को चलाता है ईश्वर। ये उसी की माया है। हमारे शरीर में वह आत्मा हमारे हृदय में स्थित है। उसी को तो हमें पहचानना है। जब तक हम नहीं पहचानते, इस माया का खेल चलता ही रहता है, चलता ही रहता है। कृष्ण कहते हैं कि सब भावों को भूल के हमें अपने अंदर स्थित परमेश्वर के आश्रय में जाना चाहिए। पूरी श्रद्धा से सब भाव, जैसे कि लज्जा, भय, मान, बढ़ाई और आसक्ति त्यागने हैं। न डर, न घमंड, न लगाव रहे। यही तरीका है परम शांति और परम धाम पाने का। आगे भगवान कहते हैं, हे अर्जुन, इस प्रकार से गोपनीय से भी अति गोपनीय ज्ञान मैंने तुमसे कह दिया। अब इस रहस्य युक्त ज्ञान को तू पूर्णतया भली भांति विचार करके जैसे चाहता है वैसे ही कर। तुम मेरे अति प्रिय मित्र हो, इसीलिए मैं यह उपदेश तुम्हारे लाभ के लिए प्रकट कर रहा हूं। कृष्ण अर्जुन को कहते हैं, तू मेरे मन वाला बन, मेरा भक्त बन, मुझे प्रणाम कर। ऐसा करने से तुम निश्चित रूप से मुझे प्राप्त करोगे। यह एक सत्य प्रतिज्ञा है। अब 66वां श्लोक मुझे बहुत पसंद है महोदय जी। श्री कृष्ण कहते हैं, सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य माम एकम शरणं व्रज, अहम त्वाम सर्व पापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः। यानी हमें हमारे सभी कर्तव्य कर्मों को कृष्ण को सौंपकर उसे सर्वशक्तिमान सर्वाधार परमेश्वर की ही शरण में जाना है। कृष्ण कहते हैं, हे अर्जुन, मैं तुझे संपूर्ण पापों से मुक्त कर दूंगा, तू शोक मत कर। आगे भगवान कृष्ण अर्जुन को कहते हैं कि तुझे यह रहस्यमय गीता उपदेश किसी भी काल में तप रहित मनुष्य से नहीं कहना चाहिए, ना उसे कहना चाहिए जिसमें भक्ति नहीं है, उसे भी नहीं कहना चाहिए जिसे सुनने की इच्छा न हो, और जो मुझ में दोष दृष्टि रखता है उसे तो कभी मत कहना। जिसमें भक्ति ही नहीं, उसको गीता का ज्ञान देना व्यर्थ है। लेकिन भगवान यह भी कहते हैं कि जो मुझ में परम प्रेम करके गीता को ज्ञान प्राप्त मेरे भक्तों को कहेगा, वह मुझे ही प्राप्त होगा। इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है। सीधी सी बात है, जो यह ज्ञान बांटेगा वो खुद भी तो उसी ज्ञान पर चलेगा और एक दिन वह कृष्ण को ही प्राप्त होगा हो जाएगा। ऐसे भक्त तो पूरे पृथ्वी भर में कृष्ण को सबसे प्रिय है। भविष्य में भी ऐसे भक्त से प्रिय कृष्ण को और कोई नहीं होगा। गीता का पाठ एक यज्ञ है और इसका परिणाम ज्ञान है। हम में से कोई भी इंसान सिद्धि मत परिपूर्ण नहीं है। नोबडी इज परफेक्ट। उसके लिए भगवान ने सरल रास्ता भी बताया है। 71 श्लोक में 71 कृष्ण कहते हैं, जो मनुष्य श्रद्धा युक्त और दोष दृष्टि से रहित होकर इस गीता शास्त्र को सिर्फ सुनता है, वह भी पापों से मुक्त होकर उत्तम कर्म करने वालों के श्रेष्ठ लोकों को प्राप्त होता है। सबसे बड़ी बात है गीता के ज्ञान को अपने अंतर में समाहित करना। वो कर्म करके हो, संन्यास से हो या हरि गीता सुन के हो, हर हालत में कृष्ण को अपने साथ ही महसूस करना है। अब कृष्ण अर्जुन को पूछते हैं, हे पार्थ, क्या इस गीता शास्त्र को तूने एकाग्रचित से श्रवण किया? क्या तेरा अज्ञान जनक मोह नष्ट हुआ? अर्जुन उत्तर देते हुए कहते हैं, हे अच्युत, आपकी कृपा से मेरा मोह नष्ट हुआ है। अब मैं संशय रहित होकर स्थिर हूं। आपकी आज्ञा का पालन करूंगा। तो दर्पण पर से धूल हट गई है। अब सच्चाई स्पष्ट है और अर्जुन युद्ध के लिए तैयार है। अब 74 से अखिरले 78 श्लोक में संजय जी बोलते हैं। संजय अपनी दिव्य दृष्टि से यह आंखों देखा हाल धृतराष्ट्र को सुना रहे हैं। संजय कहते हैं, इस प्रकार वासुदेव पुत्र कृष्ण और पृथा पुत्र अर्जुन के बीच मैंने अद्भुत रहस्य युक्त संवाद को सुना। श्री व्यास जी की कृपा से दिव्य दृष्टि पाकर मैंने इस परम गोपनीय योग को अर्जुन को कहते हुए स्वयं योगेश्वर भगवान श्री कृष्ण से प्रत्यक्ष सुना। मेरे सहपाठी, जरा सोचो, संजय की वजह से ही हम सब यह परम ज्ञान जान पाए हैं। योगेश्वर यानी जो स्वयं योगी है और दूसरों को भी योग प्रदान करने की शक्ति रखता है। संजय धृतराष्ट्र से कहते हैं, इस रहस्य युक्त कल्याणकारक और अद्भुत संवाद को पुनः पुनः स्मरण करके मैं बार बार हर्षित हो रहा हूं। संजय के चित्त में महान आश्चर्य है। भगवत गीता के इस कृष्ण अर्जुन संवाद को समाप्त करते हुए संजय कहते हैं, हे राजन, जहां भी कृष्ण होंगे और उनके साथ अर्जुन होंगे, वहां पर सम्मान, नीति और जीत का होना निश्चित है। यह अखिरला श्लोक हमारे पिताजी ने हमारे बचपन में सबको सिखा दिया था कि जहां भी कृष्ण है, अर्जुन है, वहां जीत ही जीत है। इसका एक्चुअली मतलब है, जहां कृष्ण का ज्ञान और हम में अर्जुन जैसी भक्ति होगी, वहां हमारा सम्मान और हमारी विजय निश्चित होगी। आपको बता दें कि इससे बड़ा संवाद कहीं भी दुनिया में कभी नहीं हुआ है। हम सब अर्जुन ही तो हैं। खुद की इच्छा शक्ति से गांडीव की तरह हमें अपना मन, हमारी इंद्रियों को नियंत्रण में रख अपने ध्यान को अपने कर्म पर केंद्रित करना है। हमें कर्मयोगी बनना है। अपना कर्तव्य आसक्ति से बगैर करते ही रहना है, करते ही रहना है। महोदय जी, मैं एक गीत सुनाना चाहती हूँ जो मेरे दिल के बहुत करीब है। चलेगा?
जी जी बिल्कुल।
गोविंद मेरी यह प्रार्थना है कि भूलूं न मैं नाम कभी तुम्हारा। ये नाम तेरे दिन रात गाऊं, गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। देहांत काले तुम सामने हो, बंसी बजाते मन को लुभाते। गाते यही नाम तननाथ त्यागू, गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। प्यारे जरा तो मन में विचारो, क्या साथ लाए और ले चलोगे। जाए यही साथ सदा तुम्हारे, गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे माधव हे सखेति। नमो नमः महोदय जी।
कमला भगिनी, बहु उत्तमं सुंदरम मधुरम।
बहु उत्तमं कमला जी।
अति अति सुंदरम उत्तमम, बहुत भावात्मक क्षणम था।
अभिव्यक्ति भावना पूर्ण अभिव्यक्ति।
भवत्याः यथा उक्तं वयं कथां कल्पयितुं अशक्नुमः। कमला प्रधान जी,
धन्यवाद।
कमला ईरानी जी,
हाँ जी,
अति उत्तम।
धन्यवाद।
बहु उत्तमं भावपूर्णं च।
धन्यवाद स्वामी जी।
बहु उत्तमं भगिनी।
धन्यवाद।
सच में आपने रोमांचित कर दिया सबको। ये जो भजन है इसको प्राय हम भी सुनते हैं जब ससुराल जाते हैं तो वहाँ पिछले 3 वर्षों से हमारे जो पितृतुल्य ससुर जी हैं वो असक्त हैं। जो आपने कहा ना, सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज, उसको हम प्रत्यक्ष देखते हैं कि मनुष्य जो है चाहे अनचाहे तो समस्त धर्मों का परित्याग करता है या करना पड़ता है। परिस्थितियां ऐसी आती है कि करना पड़ता है। अब उनको देखते हैं तो ऐसा लगता है, देखिए अ, अब बिस्तर में ही रहना होता है तो कहाँ से वो यज्ञोपवीत का पालन कर पाएंगे, कहाँ से वो संध्या वंदन कर पाएंगे। तो केवल एक भगवान नाम का सहारा है। भगवान के इन्हीं भजनों को गुनगुनाते रहते हैं, गाते रहते हैं। जब थक जाते हैं बोलते बोलते तो आजकल तो ये मोबाइल सुविधात्मक हो ही गई है, तो इसी से चला करके उसको सुनते रहते हैं, भाव विभोर होते हैं। बड़ा अच्छा आपने, देखिए श्रीमद् भगवत गीता जो है वो तो साक्षात भगवान की वाणी है। कई लोग अ, इसमें भगवान की वाणी कहने में उनको लज्जा महसूस होती है। एक जगह मैं कल ही एक श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की पुस्तक देख रहा था, अन्यत्र प्रकाशन का है, उसमें से भगवान उवाच को काट करके कृष्ण उवाच ऐसा लिख दिया है उस पुस्तक में। और जहां जहां पर भगवान अपने बारे में अपनी भगवत्ता को प्रकट कर रहे हैं, यदा यदा ही धर्म से, वो श्लोक ही गायब कर दिया। वो श्लोक ही नहीं है गीता में, ऐसा कह दिया। तो ये साक्षात भगवान की वाणी है। जैसे पिता की वाणी अपने समस्त बच्चों के लिए हितकारी होती है, वैसे ही श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की वाणी भी संसार के सभी प्राणियों के लिए हितकारी है। फिर चाहे वो किसी भी लिंग का हो, चाहे स्त्री हो, चाहे पुरुष हो, चाहे क्लीब हो, किसी संप्रदाय का हो, किसी प्रांत का हो, अथवा किसी राष्ट्र का हो, पशु पक्षी हो, सबके भले के लिए भगवान की वाणी होती है। जो किसी के भलाई के लिए हो, किसी के कल्याण के लिए हो, तो भगवान की वाणी। और जो किसी के कल्याण के लिए न हो, तो भगवान की वाणी कैसे हो सकती है। जैसे आजकल के जो राजनीतिक दल होते हैं ना, तो कोई कहते हैं कि भैया हम गरीबों की भलाई के लिए हमारी पार्टी है, कोई कहते हैं कि हम हमारी पार्टी, कहते तो नहीं है लेकिन होती है धनिकों की भलाई के लिए। कोई राष्ट्र की भलाई करने के लिए चाहते हैं, तो कोई अन्य राष्ट्र की भलाई के लिए होती है। परंतु भगवान किसी जाति में, किसी संप्रदाय में, किसी लिंग में, किसी राष्ट्र में सीमित हो सकते हैं भला। कोटि कोटि ब्रह्मांड जो टूट फूट गए, वे भी, और आगे जो बनेंगे वे भी, और जो इस समय है वे भी सब भगवान के स्वरूप में ही स्फुरित हो रहे हैं। जैसे अग्नि में चिंगारी होती है, वैसे ही भगवान के स्वरूप में उनकी अचिंत्य योग शक्ति महामाया वो कोटि कोटि ब्रह्मांड प्रकट करती रहती है। वस्तुतः वही है। भगवान केवल बुद्धिमानों का ही कल्याण करना चाहते हैं ऐसा नहीं है, श्रद्धा वालों का कल्याण करते ही हैं। तो बड़े भावपूर्ण अपने भजन के माध्यम से अपने भावों को प्रकट किया है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैंने ही कुछ ज्यादा समय ले लिया बताने में। आप लोगों का भाव कथन सुनना रहता है, हम तो रोज ही सुनाते हैं, लेकिन कदाचित कोई संस्मरण आ जाता है तो उसको प्रकट कर देते
धन्यवाद
हैं।
महोदय जी। महोदय जी, मैं एक वाक्य बोलना चाहूंगी
जी
सबको
जी
कि मैं पिछले दिनों बहुत बहुत बीमार रही। मेरा बहुत बुरा हाल था। पर महोदय जी, आपके वचन, आपकी सीख जो मुझे पल पल सुनाई दे रही थी, आपकी सीख, तो उसके लिए महोदय जी मैं आपकी बहुत बहुत धन्य हूँ। धन्यवाद। और मुझे बहुत फर्क पड़ा है कि मैं बहुत बीमारी में, मुझे लगा कि पता नहीं क्या होगा, पर आपकी सीख और भगवत गीता की सीख मेरे मन में हमेशा एक पल में रही। और आपने एक बार बताया था कि अगर हम भगवान का नाम लें तो उस टाइम, उस क्षण में हम हमारे तकलीफ शारीरिक हो या कुछ भी, हम उस टाइम भूल जाते हैं। हमको सिर्फ केवल भगवान की ही याद आती है। तो उस सब के लिए इस मौका लेके मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ महोदय जी। धन्यवाद सबको, धन्यवाद मेरे परिवार को, मेरे सहपाठी को, धन्यवाद मेरे साथ रहने से। धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
धन्यवाद। कमल भगिनी, आप आपका भाव कथन
महोदय,
नहीं हुआ है, करेंगी आप? हाँ जी
समस्या के वजह से मैं कल बहुत प्रयत्न करेगी। मैं पढ़ नहीं सकती है,
हाँ
पर आपका जो भी मैंने लिखा है वो हिसाब से मैं कल जरूर बताएगी। क्योंकि आपको पता
जी
है
जी
हमारे घर
हाँ
अभी
हाँ
घर में
हाँ
खाना भरी है,
जी
इसलिए
जी जी जी
मेरे को सब कुछ करना पड़ता है। तो जो आपका
हाँ
बेला लिखे है ना, उसमें से मैं कल जरूर
हाँ
भाव कथन करेगी। क्षमता
जी जी।
महोदय।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं है, परिस्थितियां हैं। चलिए, ज्योति भगिनी।
आम महोदय। महोदय, मेरे मन में जो विचार जा रहे थे, आ रहे थे, और कल प्रमोद महोदया से जो संवाद हुआ, तो मैंने थोड़ा मेरी लिखने की दिशा बदल के कुछ लिखी हूँ। उसमें कुछ त्रुटियां हो तो कृपया क्षमा करें। और मेरा ये जो लिखी हूँ वो दुस्साहस न समझे, क्योंकि वो मुझे पढ़ते पढ़ते वो मेरे सामने आ गया, तो मैंने सोचा भगवान ने इसको भेजा है तो मैं इसी के बारे में
जी
कुछ
जी
बता।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
आदौ आचार्य श्री रवींद्र शर्मा महोदयाय कृतज्ञता पूर्वकं नमस्करोमि। नमस्कारः महोदय। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाज्ञानशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीकृष्णपरमात्मने नमः। नमः सर्वेभ्यः। I firmly believe that because of some punyam and sukritam, I am able to sit in this class, and I am ever grateful for this opportunity, and I am really grateful and thankful to my honorable Guruji. The Bhagavad Gita can be studied from different angles, such as a historical document like Itihasam, a spiritual treatise, Adhyatma Grantham, a scriptural text, Veda Shastra Grantham for daily chanting and prayer, or a sublime poetry, Utkrishta Kavyam, or an exposition of grammar and meter, Vyakarana Chandas Nirupana Grantham, or a management manual, Vyavasaya Vyavastha Suchi, depending on one's own outlook and purpose. But my objective is to study this as a spiritual text and try to understand the deliverables from this Mahan Grantham within my limited understanding and means. तो जब मैं इसके बारे में थोड़ा स्वाध्याय कर रही थी, पढ़ रही थी, तो मुझे एक शब्द सूझा. I mean, I saw something like Shadvida Lingas. Actually, it is a very serious Vedantic term, but I thought I'll check what this Shadvida Lingam is, which is in the Vedantic parlance, it is used to validate the Tatparyam of any Vedantic work. So we will not be amazed at the 6 marks. Actually, Shadvida Linga is the 6 marks of any text or any work to validate that text. This is done by great rishis. This was given by rishis and usually done by all the Ghana Panditas and Jnanis. But that is why I said within my own limited means and understanding. So what are these 6 marks? Upakrama, Upasamhara. How the Grantha starts, commences and concludes. Then Abhyasa. Is there anything that is given as to practice this teaching or to reiterate? Then Apurvata. Is there any novelty? Is it any different from whatever general preaching happens? And do we get any deliverable, that is the phala, from this? Or the Arthavada, how it is argued within the text to uphold one's own theory. Then Upapatti, illustration, how this text is fitting. So I was amazed to see that all these things, all these 6 marks fit so perfectly to the wordcraft of Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Maharshi Vedavyasa. By these 6 methods, we can arrive at the main topic of any well-written book. Applying this to Bhagavad Gita, we can clearly ascertain that Brahma Vidya is its main topic. So we will see how this Upakrama and Upasamhara to evaluate the start and the end portions of the text. To understand the vision of any well-written book, one must evaluate the starting and ending portion of the book. In Gita Shastra, it refers to where Arjuna admitted he has a problem and surrendered to the Lord, Bhagavan Shri Krishna. The end is when he admitted that his delusion, that the Maya or his misunderstanding or the avidya is gone. Hence, the theme or the vision of Gita is how Bhagavan removed the ignorance of Arjuna. That is, how he did Shoka Moha Nivritti, which is by Brahma Vidya. Upakrama Upasamhara from Arjuna's standpoint starts at Shloka 7 of chapter 2. I need not repeat this, I think. Karpanya doshapa hatasvabhavaha iti shlokam asti khalo, where he expresses his problem and surrenders to Bhagavan. This is at the beginning in the 2nd chapter. And his doubt ends in the chapter 18 and Shloka 73, where he says that his delusion is gone. Arjuna vacha nashta mohaha smritir labdha tat prasadatma Nachita. So he says that he is in Karpanya, Kashta, delusion, Maya, Moha, and surrenders to Krishna. Then after listening to the Bhagavan's words, the Geetam, his Geetamritam, Madhura Vakyani, Shrutva, Arjunam Vadati, my mohas, everything is gone. Whatever I had in my smriti was there, everything is cleaned, and now I'm clear, which means my mind has become very clear. Even from a teacher's point of view, this I was telling from a student's point of view. If we take a teacher's point of view, the text starts with Krishna telling Arjuna that he's grieving for which should not be grieved for, which is not very important. He is simply grieving on something that he should not be doing. He says in chapter 2, 11th verse, Ashocya nanvashochasvam iti. So then he concludes by saying that in chapter 18, verse 63, he says, thus I have explained to you, this knowledge is more secret than all secrets. Ponder over it deeply, and then as you wish, you can proceed. Which means from both the student's point of view and the teacher's point of view, there is a beginning and there is a logical conclusion. So this is the first one, that is Upakrama and Upasamhara. Then now we go to the next aspect, that is Abhyasa. There are so many times Bhagavan Sri Krishna keeps repeating his vakyas. Like for example, in chapter 7, first verse, Maya Satta Manaha Partha, then Idam Tote Guhyatamam in chapter 9, verse 1, which means he keeps on reiterating and stressing on the importance of jnana. Like that, there are many shlokas where a certain aspect is repeatedly told in many different ways to make his student, his confused disciple, understand, and that he can keep doing the manana, and it can stay in his mind permanently, which means he can always keep it in his smriti. Then where is the novelty in Apurvata? Where is the novelty in Bhagavad Gita? Each text has something unique to say. In Adhyatmic Shastra, it cannot be merely the worldly injection. It needs to point something unique, which only a scripture can point. But we all know we have to perform our duties, and how to perform them. The scriptures say you would do this puja like this, tapasya like this, or anything. The scriptures will say you have to do falana kaam aisa karna hai karke. But the Gita goes beyond that, and it tries to impart self-knowledge, and that is its first novelty. Then again, if we Krishna calls this self-knowledge vidya as a secret, guhyam, because normal extroverted minds cannot grasp it, and hence very few succeed in knowing it. Similarly, moderation in all walks of life in a sattvic way has been stressed. Aspects and attributes in the form of yogas are very clearly classified and categorized. It can be Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Anything is very clearly classified, and there is no mixing up of aspects, but there is a link between these aspects in the form of reiteration and emphasis. The doubts have to be cleared then and there. Why? Okay. Imparting knowledge is not in a regimental way, like how a danda pakad ke tum ye सीखो नहीं तो तुम्हें punishment में लगा, ऐसा नहीं करता Shri Krishna. Krishna actually engages Arjuna in a conversational style dialogue, and then whenever somebody has a doubt, it should be cleared then and there, and which again Shri Krishna does to Arjuna. Whenever Arjuna comes out with a doubt, then and there he clears, and Gita is very unique in this way. That is why it is Apurvam. The Apurvata is established here. Then praise, Arthavada. Whenever we take up a concept, we have to actually substantiate or support it. This is what we do whenever we present something or whenever we talk about something. So here also, Sri Krishna reiterates the importance of Atma Jnana and praises self-knowledge repeatedly. He repeatedly criticizes Ahankaram or the egotism, and both are actually in praise of Brahma Vidya. If you support Atma Jnana and Vidya, and if you criticize Ahankara, the egotism, both are part of Brahma Vidya. We find many shlokas in Gita that emphasizes and extols, that is Prashamsa of the Supreme Paramatma, and condemning spiritual ignorance. Thus, attaining supreme knowledge is the goal of Bhagavad Gita. For example, in the chapter 4, verses 33, 35, 36, Shreyan Draiva Mayadya Jnana Yagna Parantapa. 1 second, Maria. Atra Trutihi Asti. Tankana Trutihi Asti. Anyway, I will not waste time. We all know that in the chapter 4, 33, 35, 36, he keeps on telling about Jnana, which means he supports Jnana. And he also criticizes Ajnana. This I need not search for the shlokas and tell, because we know that through and through in the whole Bhagavad Gita, Jnana, Vidya, everything is it is supported or praised, and Ajnana and Ahankara, everything, all the negative qualities are criticized. Then Phalam, coming to the fifth aspect, the Phalam, removal of sorrow and confusion, attainment of clear thinking and supreme knowledge, the enlightenment is the Phalam of this Mahan Grantham. From result also, we can understand the subject matter of the text. Sign of wisdom or self-knowledge is total fulfillment in life. Bhagavan gives this result in many places. Sukhamatyantikam yat buddhigrahya matindriyam in chapter 6, 21, 22, chapter 4, 37, Etaidamsi, and then chapter 6, verse 30, Yomam Pashit Sarvatra Sarvam Chamai Pashyati, Tasyaham na pranashyami, Sachamena pranashyati iti. So wherever we see, there is a phalashruti, what is the fruit of learning this Mahan Grantha or understanding this Grantha is told time and again. Then Upapati, that is illustration by example. Bhagavan says one must not grieve and explains why exhaustively in chapter 2. He also says why Karma Yoga is to be practiced, the goal being self-knowledge alone, which is the means to the end of material existence. We find that in the text that Krishna has been giving a lot of logical explanations and reasoning to convince Arjuna about his teachings. He keeps using profusely the term tasmat, which means therefore. He would have explained a concept. So he says, therefore, that is why you do this. That is why you do that. So, which means there is a preamble. He would have told something and ये करने से होता है, so you have to do this. वो करने से उसका फल ये होता है, तो you do this. So like this, there is illustration throughout in Bhagavad Gita. For example, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanasmara yudhyacha, tasmat shatram pramanam, tasmat tvam uttishta yasholabhasva. So these are all examples of how Krishna tells some concept earlier with some illustration, and it says, do this. So this is that Upapatti. So in the end, what we should understand is Bhagavad Gita clearly fulfills all the criteria of all these 6 marks of a grantham or text. So Brahma Vidya is elucidated in a way that is applicable at all times. So when this text is all time Satyam, it is true in all the temporal parlance or at any time, every time. The subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is nothing other than discernment, that is vivekaha, pravicharaha and vivechana. The subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is viveka and vivechana. According to Gita, Vivechana is all about Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Guru, tutors his confused disciple Arjuna to lead him from the state of Maya to the understanding of Satyasya Satyam. Krishna outlines for Arjuna the path towards gaining flawless knowledge, the Atma Bodham, and self-mastery, Atmastairyam, from his sorrowful state of confusion. Bhagavad Gita was written to lead Arjuna from slavery and obscurity of avidya to the freedom and splendor of jnana. Moksha is the purging of illusory thoughts that Maya creates and beliefs about the transitory world mithya. Thus entering a state of pure consciousness and realizing and accepting reality, the Satyam as it is. Simply speaking, pure consciousness is that consciousness which is free from all the impurities which prevents us from being and knowing who we are. What are the impurities? The Vishuddhatas. They are the thoughts, Chintanam, feelings and emotions such as Raga, Bhaya, Harsha, Santosha, Shoka, Dvesha, Udvega, and disturbances, the Shobha, the memorial and perpetual knowledge, Smaranam, Nirantar Smaranam, modifications, Vikalpam, attachments, Moha, Sangha, Anurakti, desires, Icha, egoism, Ahankara, Guna, qualities, attributes, Guna Doshaha, perceptions, Pratyaksha Anubhuti, cognition, Anubhavam, Samvedanam, Mohamaya, delusions, Mohamaya, ignorance, Avidya, our sthiti or avastha, the dvandvam, the division, apavartanam, objectivity, vastunishta. All these things are impurities that always are, it's like a colloid. They are always in the mind. And they are all, we know the property of colloid, no? It keeps, all the particles keep moving inside, in a space, in a, not a fixed way, helter-skelter. So our mind is like a colloid. All these impurities are like a colloid that are there in our mind. So they arise from the field, the kshetra of mind and body, which represents nature, the prakriti. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita are designed to awaken us into a pure consciousness, Shuddha Chaitanyam. Therefore, in the final section of Gita, Krishna asks Arjuna if he now is in a pure consciousness, that is he now a Shuddha Chaitanya Sthitihi. So, the reference for this is, he asks, Kachideta Shrutam Partha Tvaya Grena Chetasa Kachid Jnana Sammohaha Pranashtate Dhananjaya. So, Shuddha Chaitanya is being in a state of samadhi, that is equanimity, being in control of one's mind and body. Impure consciousness is a state of being blinded and disturbed by the ego or the ahankara. Now, let us try to understand the symbolism in Bhagavad Gita. Over the centuries, numerous attempts have been made to figure out and attribute symbolic meanings to the events and personalities in Bhagavad Gita. If we can leave aside the issue of assigning symbolic meaning to each and every person or every character in that battle narrative, it is not difficult to figure out the basic symbolism. This world in which we live is Dharma Kshetra, the field of Dharma. Dharma usually means the right way of thought and action, but it can also mean the accurate expression of one's own dominant character. This entire world is a Dharma Kshetra, a field upon which we act out the character of our inner makeup, that is the quality of our emotions, mind, intellect, and will, a field upon which we act out our Swadharma. Our Swadharma, what is our Swadharma? Our vocation. जो काम हम करते हैं और ड्यूटी, तो कर्तव्य हम करते हैं, and inherent obligations, whatever we are supposed to be doing as we are. As per our innate constitution, our gunas, the inner makeup depends on the gunas and the titles of the gunas that we have and which guna takes an upper hand. The quality of our emotions, mind, intellect, and will depends on our present level of evolution. We as individuals are each a dharmic field expressing the actuality of our present level of evolution. When we take stock of our inner conflict, the yuddha, we identify ourselves in both the sides. There is a war happening between two parties, and sometimes we are with the party A, sometimes we are with the party B. So that is how our mind is made up of. We can compare the warriors in this battle, namely, there are two sides. So on one side, we have warriors, namely the ignorance and delusion. Avidya and Maya are the children of a blind ego, represented by Dhritarashtra. Whereas the inner soldiers of truth and higher consciousness are the children of divine Atma. Kurukshetra is our personality. Buddhi of the individual is the charioteer who tries to lead true self to attain enlightenment. This aspiration for truth evokes opposition from within one's own mind and body, governed by the blind ego. Thus begins the war between Pandavas and Kauravas, the good and evil, truth and falsehood, ignorance and wisdom, trying to destroy each other. The most surprising feature of this inner war is that many insightful and honest virtues are lining up to support worthless. यानी कि अगर हम इसको एक युद्ध मानते हैं तो इसमें ये युद्ध हो रहा है गुड एंड इविल, अच्छा अच्छे बुरे, सत्य असत्य, अविद्या एंड विद्या, इनके बीच में जो युद्ध होता है उसमें एक दूसरे को मारने की कोशिश हमेशा करते रहते हैं. एंड ये तो अचरज की बात है कि जो ऑनेस्ट एंड अच्छे गुण हैं वो भी समटाइम्स दे लाइन अप टू सपोर्ट जो अच्छे नहीं है उसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए चले जाते हैं. जैसे हमने देखा कि इवन कुरुक्षेत्र युद्ध में whoever was virtuous had to support Duryodhana. So that is what it means. Thinking that if we have dissolved or destroyed, we will cease to exist. We think that if the war exists and something happens in that war, we in the sense our physical existence will be at stake. We are appalled and feel that our very existence is threatened. Then, like all human beings, we do not like the truth. When we see or hear it, we become confused and try to avoid unpleasant prospect. That is what everybody does. No? Whenever there is an unpleasant situation, we try to run away. So we are confused and we try to avoid the situation. So we shrink from it. अगर हम इससे भाग नहीं सकते तो हम we start wilting and we start shrinking and desperately try to find a way out. So does Arjuna. In a lengthy and impassioned monologue, that is chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, he presents to Krishna his confusion, which is really a plea to inaction. He wants sannyasa to avoid conflict, thinking that such a negative condition is peace. He thinks that by running away, by avoiding all these things, he can sit in peace, shanti. But peace is a positive state of mind. Mere absence of unrest and conflict cannot be termed as peace. Ityukte dvandvasya ashantyah cha abhavameva dhanatmaka shanti itina. अगर वो कुछ प्रक्षुब्ध वातावरण नहीं है, वो उसका मतलब शांति नहीं है. शांति हमारे अंदर होना है. तो हम सोचते हैं कि मैं इधर से भाग जाऊं और शांति से रहूं, वो शांति नहीं है. जहां भी हम रहते हैं उधर शांति से रहना ही शांति का ट्रू मतलब है. Running away from spiritual obligation and therefore from spiritual life itself is a common activity of the soul that is struggling to awaken, which brings all its ingenuity, that is creative mind, to bear on justification of such avoidance. So we think that we are struggling to awaken, or we are not in an awakened state. So we think that running away or just dropping our kartavyam or dropping our work itself is trying to get peace or something. So that is why Arjuna, it is a symbolism. He drops his Gandiva and his the sharas, and he just bows down to Krishna, and he is in a state of surrender. In the sense, he does not want to do anything. And Arjuna veils his aversion with the words of compassion for others. He says, "वो तो मेरे सगे संबंधी है," this, that. All this means he wants to give excuses when it actually he is the sole object of his compassion. He is nurturing both positive and negative bhavas within himself. So they are like his own bandhus. All his negativity within him, the positivity within him, they are all there in his mind. So it is his own kith and kin. They are his bandhus. He simply does not wish to see others suffering because that will make him suffer. That's what he thinks. If his ego is hurt, if his bhavas are disturbed, so it will make him suffer. So he feels guilty for his own suffering. So he wants to just not do anything and just be in that state, what do you say, that I mean, I'm not able to get a proper word. That is a status quo. He wants to maintain status quo, that he does not want any disturbance. So Krishna now makes it clear to him. It is not merely the external world, even within ourselves, that we find all kinds of negative impulses, conflicts, confusions, fears, and ignorance. Although at times, deep within ourselves, we could sense an attraction towards divinity, it is often overruled by a multitude of impulses of delusion or Maya. So everybody has a spark of that divinity, and it comes and goes, comes and goes. So that is why in the last Vkathanam, I quoted something from Yoga Shastra which says, Nirantar Abhyasam, etc. So we have to make that divinity firm within ourselves. For example, the ego, which is the creation of ignorance or delusion, avidya and maya, torments the individual self as a result of his fears, desires, and illusions. It manages to line up the genuine human qualities to defend and ensure its survival. So in turn, the individual survival is intertwined with his own survival. That's what the understanding is. We also come across individuals who use their intellectual faculties to achieve the goals dictated by their blind instincts of their mind or the societal compulsions. As a result, along with the Kauravas, here it is bad qualities. Most of the Pandavas' army, now here it is the noble qualities, is also eliminated in the eventual transformation of the individual into a higher state of being. यानी कि वो सोसाइटी के कंपल्शंस हो या हमारे ब्लाइंड इंस्टिंक्ट्स हो, we try to achieve something. So when there is a conflict within ourselves, our जो कौरव के जैसा जो हमारे बैड क्वालिटीज है और पांडव का जैसा जो नोबल क्वालिटीज है, उनके बीच में जो युद्ध होता है, हमेशा many times the good qualities get eliminated and we think that we have achieved a higher goal, but that is not true. Now, the ego of blind Dhritarashtra, the symbol of he is the symbol of ego. He is the false self that reigns. He is doing adhikaram on our body and mind. Blind ego is doing or is राज कर रहा है हमारे बॉडी और माइंड के ऊपर. उसने हमें अंधा कर दिया है, blinding us to everything else and making us think that it is the essence of our being. However, it is not true. Very deep inside, वो जो हमारे बॉडी और माइंड के ऊपर जो अधिकार कर रहा है, हमारे अंधा अहंकार, वो तो think that this is वो तो हम वो है, this is the essence of our being. That is what that ego makes us think, but it is not true. हमारे अंदर deep buried within us is a true self awaiting for liberation and recapturing its rightful kingdom. हमारे अंदर जो अच्छे क्वालिटीज है वो तड़प रहे हैं, वो हम बाहर आए, निखर आए बाहर, और हमारे जो अधिकार है, हमारा जो साम्राज्य है उसको हम कैप्चर करें। ऐसे हमारे अंदर के जो सोच है वो इंतजार कर रहे हैं बाहर आने के। लेकिन दुर्योधना, हु इज द डर्टी मीनिंग virtually dirty fighter, the elder son of Dhritarashtra, one who holds the kingdom, is a dangerous evolution of his blind father. He is capable of consciously choosing evil if he believes that serves his ambition. So Duryodhana, who is the leader of our bad qualities, is waiting. He thinks, I will do anything, but I will just reach my goal. For example, here Duryodhana organized to burn Pandavas in the Lakshagriha. He tried to kill Bhima, putting him in a well, and all his companions and advisors, we can see they are all evil people and they are all very deceitful in nature. So this is the Sena of Duryodhana with all his bad qualities and bad thoughts. He is coercing the virtuous to commit self-sacrifice in order to gratify his hunger for power. So the virtuous team also is there, but he coerces, उनको उत्तेजित करता है to commit self-sacrifice, जो आत्माहुति करे. For example, he actually asks Pandavas to play Dyutam. So this shows that virtues serving the ego. The virtues are subservient to ego and working to ensure its preservation are certainly risking their lives. They will not know हम इसको subservient होते हैं तो हम नष्ट हो जाते, ये भी उनको पता नहीं, because the bad qualities are so strong that they can coerce all the good qualities to be subservient to the ego. It is amazing to note how the ego devours people, sapping their energy, turning them into blind brutes, while they themselves believe that they are really living a great life. This is the fatal delusion in which human beings often dwell. Only those who have glimpsed the truth of their inner divinity are likely to escape the milieu of death. Now, Krishna is literally dark. Arjuna means literally Shwet or white. So represent the unknown and known. It is dark, so we don't know Krishna. Arjuna is white. We can see him. He is known. So they both represent God and human persona, as well as our own dual nature of immortal and mortal beings. From this standpoint, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna can be regarded as both God's communication to human beings and the communication of our own self, divine self, with our human self, the intention of which is moksha or samadhi, or liberation from sufferings and attaining equanimity, the samatva. Accordingly, Arjuna and Krishna are the indwelling Atman, individual self, and Paramatma, the immortal self, riding the chariot which has Arjuna's body. Sri Krishna repeats the salient features of philosophy of Gita for the benefit of Arjuna, and through him to all of us in moksha, in this chapter of Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Mahodaya, श्रूयते वा?
आम आम आम
महोदय, अभी कुछ बोलना बाकी है, समय का अभाव होगा तो मैं कल कंटिन्यू करूं या 10-15 मिनट लगेंगे शायद?
देखिए, जब तक लगेंगे तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, 10-15 मिनट में हो जाएगा, तो समय में हो जाएगा
शायद।
जी जी
मैं
जी
प्रयत्न करूं। हाँ
हाँ हाँ
तो
But you can
श्री
continue right now
कृष्ण,
itself.
क्षम्यतां,
You can continue right now itself. We have some time right now. And
I have no time constraint, but I don't want to hold back people.
okay.
Continue karomi. Sri Krishna repeats the salient features of the philosophy of Gita for the benefit of Arjuna and through him for all of us in Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, this chapter. The Lord lays down 4 conditions for the success of a seeker with a guarantee that the seeker can reach him if he follows all these rules. In order to avoid anybody taking his words lightly, he adds that this is his true promise and specifically conveys this secret to Arjuna because he's his Saka and Bandhu, Mitra, and close Shishya. These conditions are: fix the mind in the Bhagavan, ever remember him, Sada Smaranam Karaniyam, regard him as the sole refuge. He is the only Ashraya Data. Ever devotedly identify with him through the process of performing selfless activities, that is, you stick to Karma Yoga. Dedicate them to him in an attitude of bhakti and tyaga with complete samarpana bhavam. The ultimate mystery, the supreme teaching with which Lord wound up chapter 9.34 is repeated here also in chapter 18. Thought, worship, sacrifice, and reverence all must be directed to Paramatma. We must surrender ourselves to God. Our spiritual life depends as much on our going to him as on his coming to us. It is not only the ascent to God, but his descent to man also. He is waiting only for our trustful appeal to him. The final appeal of Bhagavan. Although Arjuna was given a free choice to make his independent decision, he gave an impression that still some doubts and misgivings were lurking in his mind. Therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna that he will again confide in him the profoundest wisdom, the supreme secret, because he is his dearest friend. In the Shlokam 65, he says this: fix your mind on me and all that, manmana, bhava, madbhakto, madhyaji, etc. And then he says, sarva guhya tamam bhuya shunume paramam vacha. So listen to me again, the supreme word, most secret of all, because you are dearly beloved to me, and all these things. So finally, Bhagavan says, sarva dharman parityajya. We have all our Bandhavas in this group have repeatedly told the Sarva Dharman Parityajya, which is the Charama Shloka of 18th chapter. He says, abandoning all dharmas, kaya, vacha, manasa. We have to abandon our dharmas of our body, mind, and intellect, and take refuge in me alone. I will liberate you from all sins and do not grieve. This is the noblest of all the verses in Gita, having brilliant import, and yet this is the most controversial. Philosophers, translators, reviewers, critics, and commentators have put forward several interpretations of this verse, each maintaining their own viewpoint. To Sri Ramanuja, this is the Charama Shlokam of the whole Gita. It is the answer given by the Lord to the question put by Arjuna in chapter 2, 7th verse. Karpanya dosha iti shlokam. So he says, my heart is overpowered by the taint of pity. My mind is confused as to duty. I ask you, tell me decisively, what is good for me? I am your disciple. Instruct me, who has taken the refuge in you. So he pleads with all his Bhava Purnaka Samarpanam, he does to Krishna, and he asks, please, he begs. So leaving aside all these divergent opinions that given by many people, we can understand this verse as follows. The essential property of a substance is called its dharma. Therefore, the essential dharma of a man is the divine spark in his existence. The infinite Bhagavan and the Atman. These are this is the divine spark. With this understanding of the term dharma, we can appreciate that it differs from mere ethical, moral rules of conduct, all duties in life, all duties towards relations, friends, community, nation, and the world, all our obligations to our environment, all our affections, all our reverence, charity, all our sense of goodwill, etc. All these are dharmas. We can appreciate. Thus, to live truly as the Atman and to express its infinite perfection through all our actions and in all our contacts with the outer world is to rediscover our dharma. In this verse, the Lord wants us to accomplish 3 distinct adjustments in our inner personality. They are: renounce all dharmas through meditation, surrender to my refuge alone and while in the state of meditation, and stop all worries. And as a reward, he promises, I shall release you from all the sins. This is a promise given to all the mankind, abandoning all the dharma. Sarva dharman parityajya. As a mortal, finite ego, the seeker is living with the dharmas of his body, mind, and intellect, and exists in life as a mere perceiver, feeler, and thinker. The perceiver, feeler, thinker personality in us is the individuality which expresses itself as ego. These are not our essential dharmas. And since these are the non-essentials, renouncing all dharmas means ending the ego. To renounce, therefore, means not to allow ourselves to fall again and again into the state of identification with our outer envelopes or envelopments of matter around us. Extrovert tendencies of the mind are to be renounced. Develop introspection diligently in the deep suggestion of the phrase Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Come to me alone, Mameka Sharanam Braja. Come to me alone for shelter. Self-withdrawal from our extrovert nature will be impossible unless the mind is given a positive method of developing its introvert attention. By single-pointed, steady contemplation upon me, the self, which is the one without a second, we can successfully accomplish our total withdrawal from the misinterpreting equipments of the body, mind, and intellect. Lord Krishna commands his devotees to come to his shelter whereby they can accomplish renunciation of all their false identifications. He says, Aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I shall release you from all sins. That which brings about agitations and causes dissipation of the energies is called sin. The actions themselves can leave their footprints upon the mental stuff, and these marks are called vasanas. To erase all vasanas completely is to stop all thoughts. The total cessation of the thought flow, namely mind, transcending the mind-intellect equipment, is to reach the plane of pure consciousness, the Krishna reality. Ma shuchaha, don't grieve. When both the above conditions are accomplished, the seeker, the sadhaka, reaches a state of tranquility, shanti, in meditation. Lord Krishna wants the seeker to renounce all his anxieties to realize him. Even a desire to realize is a disturbing thought that can obstruct the final achievement. Arjuna was perturbed by the various duties, ritualistic and ethical, that the war will result in the confusion of caste and indifference to the ancestors, as well as in the violation of sacred duties of reverence for the teachers, for his teachers, etc. Sri Krishna tells him not to worry about these laws and usages, but to trust him and bow down to his will. If he consecrates his life, actions, feelings, and thoughts and surrenders himself to God, he will guide him through the battle of life, and he need not have fears and tears. Surrender is the only way to self-transcendence. This is the Lord's assurance to all the humanity. The stanza is important in as much as it is one of the most powerfully worded verses in the Gita, wherein the Lord undertakes to do something to help the seeker in case he is ready to obliterate his ego or destroy his ego and put forth his best efforts. In the words of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, we should willingly yield to his pressure, completely surrender to his will, and take shelter in his love. If we destroy confidence in our ego and replace it by perfect confidence in God, He will save us. He asks us of total self-giving and gives in return the power of the Spirit, which changes every situation. When we turn to Him and let Him fill our whole being, our responsibility ceases. He deals with us and leads us beyond all sorrow. It is an unreserved surrender to the Supreme who takes us up and raises to our utmost possible perfection. Though the Lord conducts the world according to the fixed laws and aspects and expects us to conform to the law of right action based on our nature and station in life, if we take shelter in Him, we transcend all this. A seemingly outer help must come to man, for his soul cannot deliver itself from the trap in which he is caught by his own effort. So here the help comes in the these are the words of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Here the help the Lord has assured that He will give. So what is the appeal of Gita towards supreme secret? This is the synthesis of the solution to the enigmatic problem of human action. This is the highest state of knowledge a man can achieve. This method of perfection of a life of action with spiritual freedom arising from knowledge of absolute self and infused with devotion, seeing the presence of divine in all the beings, is the eternal applicability of the message of Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna describes the qualities one needs to develop towards a life leading to the highest state of knowledge. He says, when a person behaves without attachment to anything, having controlled his mind, made his heart desireless, then by renunciation of fruit of his action, he reaches the supreme perfection, that is Naishkarmyam. Uniting the purified intelligence, courageously controlling oneself, giving up objects of senses, not pulled or pushed by likes and dislikes, staying tranquil in solitude, eating the right food, speech, kaya vacha manasa shauchvam, shuchitvam, that is speech, body and mind controlled, continuously united with innermost self in meditation, giving up desire and attachment, having put away egoism, power, pride, anger, and instinct of possession, being calm and luminous, such a person is fit to become merged in Brahman. So he will become Brahma Bhuta. When one is merged with a Brahman, he becomes happy, does not desire for anything, does not hate anything, becomes equal towards all beings, then acquires intense devotion to me. This is what Lord Krishna says. By devotion, he acquires the essential knowledge of how much I am, who I am in the reality, and who I am in principle. When he has thus known me in entirety, he becomes merged in me, the Purushottama. One who, while performing his actions, always lodged in me, he by my favor attains the eternal imperishable status. What I'm telling are the words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Krishna counsels Arjuna on the greater idea of dharma and universal harmony and duty. He begins with the tenet that the soul, the Atman, is eternal and immortal, and any death on the battlefield would involve only the shedding of the body, whereas the soul is permanent. In order to clarify his point, Krishna expounds the various yoga processes and understanding of the true nature of the universe. He describes the yogic paths of devotional service, bhakti yoga, karma yoga, the meditation dhyana yoga, or raja yoga, and knowledge jnana yoga. Fundamentally, the Bhagavad Gita proposes that true enlightenment comes from going beyond identification with the temporal ego, the false self, and the ephemeral world, that is kshanika. This world is ephemeral, kshanikam, so that one identifies with the truth of immortal self, the absolute soul of Atman. Through detachment from material sense of ego, the yogi or the follower of a particular path of yoga is able to transcend his or her illusory mortality and attachment to the material world and enters the realm of supreme. Krishna does not propose that physical world must be abandoned or neglected. Rather, one's life on earth must be lived in accordance with the greater laws and truths. One must embrace one's temporal duties whilst remaining mindful of timeless reality, acting for the sake of service without consideration for the results thereof. Such a life would naturally lead towards stability, happiness, and ultimately enlightenment. Bhagavad Gita is thoroughly practical and free of all intellectual gymnastics or vague abstract philosophy. It offers diagnostic solutions to every challenging situation that we face in our life that calls for discernment, and that is discernment is viveka, discernment and action. See, it offers diagnostic solutions to every challenging situation that we face in our daily life that calls for viveka and karma. Sri Krishna advises Arjuna to think and reflect over what all he had declared and thereafter take such decision as he thinks proper without blindly accepting what has been told to him. He says, Yadichasi Tat Guru. Teaching is not indoctrination. The Lord leaves the decision to act and lead a higher life to Arjuna's life, free and sweet choice after considering all the points brought to his notice. There is no compulsion involved, and free choice is the characteristic of Hinduism, as the human personality cannot grow morally or ethically through coercion. You can't force somebody to accept something. So here it is free choice. That is what through Krishna's words it is declared, Yadichasi Tadakuru, to all of us. The Supreme does not impose his command. We are free at any moment to reject or accept the divine call. The integral surrender should be made with the fullest consent of the seeker. God does not do the climbing for us, but supports us whenever we stumble, comforts us whenever we fall. He is prepared to wait till we turn to him. Thus, Lord's approach is counseling, but not commanding. The scriptures serve the purpose of telling man what he should do and what he should not. It is up to the man himself to choose the right and reject the wrong. Gita simply shows us the way forward. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna assures sadhakas that he incarnates in each age, each yuga to establish righteousness in the world. Paritranaya sadhonam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So when the Lord is coming down to us to help us, our total Sharanagati is the marga for our upliftment or our moksham. So whenever we are in the state of total Sharanagati, we definitely get Bhagavan's kripa and help. So I just conclude with one small incident that happened to me. I mean, this total Sharanagati is told in many Puranas through Gajendra Moksha, when Prahalada sought Narsimha's help, and the Lord comes in the form of Narsimha, and Markandeya was actually saved. So all these things exhibit total Sharanagati. So to me, once a few years back, we were making a trip to Sabarimalai. Most of the people now know that Sabarimalai pilgrimage is a tough one. You have to follow certain rules, and you have to climb the hills barefoot, and it's very steep. So at that beginning of that also, somebody asked, will you come? I said, okay, we will go. Then followed all the rules and regulations, and we went. So as I was climbing, we had the dip in Holy Pampa and started climbing with the Irumudi and all that. After certain climb, I started feeling that I will not be able to do this. So there were tears of anguish in my eyes. I started telling, oh, I'm not able to climb. Having done all this pratam and all that, come to Sabrimala, and now I'm not able to climb. So our Guru Swamiji said, just say Sharanam Ayyappa and climb. So one young boy who was descending, he said, Mataji, मैं अब उतर रहा हूँ, आप तो चढ़ रही है, ये डंडा आपके लिए बहुत जरूरी है. He gave me one very तगड़ा डंडा and he said, now you climb. I was the first to reach from our group. That is, I mean, I feel that Ayyappa himself came down to help me. So, I mean, my experience of total Sharanagati. So I still keep that danda in my house. I've not discarded that. I brought it all the way back and I kept it in my house. So, I mean, this is what I wanted to tell.
वकथनम श्रुत्वा आनंदेन अभिभूतः भवन्.